What's going on, guys? Welcome back to OverTakes. This is Misfit, and today we're going to be talking about a bunch of different stuff. Just an update. I had a little audio problem. My microphone crapped out. I did an episode. I'm just redoing it, more or less. And there's a couple more updates in this episode. Yeah, I talked about Super and started the team previews, but we're just redoing it. The audio was terrible. My microphone was doing weird, unknown things. I tried to fix it, but it just didn't work. So here we are. We're going to talk Super's retirement, and we're going to dive into and get these rolling. We're going to start doing team previews. We're going to do the Atlanta Reign and the Boston Uprising today. First, I'd like to thank all you guys for joining me. Thanks a lot for all of your support. It's greatly appreciated. All the likes, subscribes, and you guys just hanging out and talking with me when we get involved in the season and stuff like that, and we have roster moves and all these kind of things. I love it. It's fun. It's great. It's what this show's about. If you're new, thanks a lot for stopping by. I do Overwatch League content 2 to 3 times a week, depending on what's going on. So during the season, it'll be 2 to 3 times a week, possibly 4. We're going to see how it starts and plays out with the extended schedule, because in season 1, when we had this schedule the same way, I had a partner then too, but we did episodes. We previewed the episodes for Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday. Depends on what we do, and then I do a review show, usually uploads around Monday, Tuesday. That's seemingly what my schedule is going to be like right now. At least that's what I'm planning on doing. It could change more for whatever happens. But anyway, let's get into this. Okay, so first bit of news that I wanted to talk about, and it was big, huge. I mean, you guys probably talked about it a little bit, since it happened. It happened like over a week ago. Super has retired from the Overwatch League. I find this to be kind of surprising. There was rumblings about it, but I think at this point, maybe he decided, tried out the game a little bit. Maybe he thinks it's not for him. I don't know. Something seemed to have gone on in the meantime. Maybe the grind got to him. Who knows? Yeah, he did give a twit longer and talked on stream about it. He's going to be doing streaming, which is great. He's a great personality, and he does that really well, and he'll be fine. He'll do that. I'm sure he'll be doing Overwatch League, Overwatch 2 and stuff like that. But he is going to be greatly missed in this game and in this league. As far as a personality, he was kind of the face of the league for a couple of years. He had a lot of character, he was just a genuine dude that just let it rip. And he was great. He would talk trash. He would back it up. That's the other thing. He was one of the greatest tanks of all time. One of the best Reinhardts, if not the best Reinhardt. We can make arguments all day long on that. In the league, in league history, 2-time champion. I believe he won the World Cup one year. He's a very accomplished player. He's one of my favorites for all of those reasons. Plus, you add the type of guy he was, he had swag. He was part of that Giga Chad, Mega Chad, whatever you want to call it, Chad team that the Shock had in 2019, 2020, where they kind of, going in early in 2019, it was a little bit, they were the underdogs, and then they started showing their dominance, and once they did, you could see the confidence in these guys, and they just went out there and let it rip. And I loved him. He was the leader of this team. That's one of the things that I think the Shock is going to miss. His leadership at such a young age was just unbelievable to me. He led that team. He would back up anything that he would say. Usually, they lost and stuff like that. But you know what? The guy was great. He was fun to watch, fun to see participate in the Overwatch League, see do all of the things that he did. And he's going to be greatly missed. And just a side note on this before we get into the other little bits of news and then hit our team previews. But just a side note, the Overwatch League needs more players like Super. They need more guys that have the swag, that talk trash, that back it up, that are funny, that are fun, that are, bombastic. They need that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't care if the guys, guys can be quiet and do their thing and all that. But what makes things fun is guys that are different and talk trash and do all that stuff. And it feels like they're losing more and more of these guys. We need more and more of these guys to come in the league and start playing and just bring the fun back into some of it. Yeah, it's great to watch them mechanically, but I want to see some of the other back and forth stuff. I miss Dogman. I miss Effect. I miss some of those guys like Gesture and Fissure and now Super, you're losing a lot of these guys. Baby Bay, there's a lot of guys that are gone now. Even guys like Surefour. You're losing the characters of the league, and you need to bring some of these guys in. I know a lot of people don't like it. They find it abrasive. They find it whatever. It's fun. I don't want to just watch guys play video games. I want to see them going back and forth like we do. Maybe not like in Overwatch League fucking chat, but... or not Overwatch League chat, in Overwatch chat when you're in a ranked game. But, just having fun. I want a little bit more of that. I think if we get more LAN events, we're going to see more of that too. Okay, so sad to see Super go, but they replaced him with Coluge. I don't know if you guys remember, back in a couple of years ago, he was a player. He had a lot of issues going on with some things he had said on stream, and I think in match and stuff like that. I haven't heard his name in a bit, I'm not going to lie. I haven't heard anyone bring him up too much recently. He did a lot of bad stuff, and there were rumors that the Titans wanted to bring him in, but Overwatch League said no. I don't know any of that, what happened there, but I believe it was in 2020 after they dumped their roster there. They were going to bring him in, but he's got a CD past. I think there was a boosting scandal in there and involved in all that. But apparently all parties, including, I would assume, players and stuff like that, feel like this guy deserves a second chance. He's got a great organization behind him going to the Shock. So they're not going to put up with any bullshit. You guys know that Krusty's not going to play around with garbage like that if it happens. I'm willing to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. He's an off tank mostly. This throws them into a different area. They don't have a main tank player like they did with Super, who's pretty versatile, can flip on a Roadhog and probably Zarya, and he could probably do Diva decently enough. But I don't know if Coluge can do the things that they need him to do as far as if it becomes a Winston or a Reinhardt or a Ball type of situation or Orisa or whatever they throw out there. As far as new tanks, new players go, who knows? But it changes the dynamic for the Shock. I was actually going to do them. I had a couple teams. I was just going to go around the league. I had a couple teams. They were going to be one of the first teams I did. But I decided to put them in the back burner until I really think about it a little bit more without Super on the team. I think one of the biggest things that they're going to miss is Super's leadership. I don't know if Coluge can fill that role. I don't know if Violet could possibly step up. Violet is going to be, at this point, he's going to be the oldest guy on the team as far as veteran presence. So it's going to be interesting to see. We'll talk about the Shock later on down the line. All right, so let's start the team previews, guys. We are going to go basically in alphabetical order, right down the line. I was going to jump around a little bit, but I figured this would just be the easiest way. We'll talk about each team. We'll go over their roster, get some conversations going about them, and take it from there. And then we'll start doing some sort of power ranking-ish thing. Maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll get some scrims in the next couple weeks to be able to view and see some stuff or hear some things. Because they're all under like NDAs and all that stuff right now, so they're not saying anything about who looks good and who looks bad because they can't. So hopefully that loosens up, lightens up, whatever you want to call it. The alpha ends, and we get into where we can actually hear some things about teams, maybe form a little bit of an opinion more than just looking at their roster. But let's start it. We're going to start, like I said, we're going to go right down the line. Here we go. First team we're going to talk about, the Atlanta Reign. Let's go over their roster really quick. We're just going to run down it, and then we'll dive into a little bit talking about them, and then we'll do Boston in this episode, and then continue on from there. The Atlanta Reign. Obviously, they were the runners-up last year, lost to Shanghai in the finals. They looked pretty good, but they decided it was, they wanted to do a revamp. A couple of the players they got rid of were key components. They got rid of Masa, Edison, Iris, and Pelican. Pelican and Iris go to Houston. Edison goes to Dallas. Masa goes to Vancouver. So they're all still in the league because they were all really good players. Let's just be honest. Edison was kind of on the fence. Didn't really know too much enough. I didn't get enough of a sample size with Edison. I know he was really good in contenders. We'll talk about Dallas in a later episode and talk about him. Some big components gone. They're kind of doing it, hitting the reset button, sort of. Pelican, obviously, they're hard carry. Masa, great main support. Also very, very good at comms and call-outs and all that kind of stuff, leadership-wise. Iris was really good at BAP and kind of started getting a little better at some of the other things, but he played a lot of BAP. He was an important part. Don't get me wrong. I'm not selling him short. He's gone as well. All right, as far as the current roster, let's talk about that. All right, so we have Gator and Hawk returning and Kai returning. Gator and Hawk, obviously the tanks, Kai on DPS. They have picked up Nero and Venom on DPS, OG and Ultraviolet on support. Now, OG and Ultraviolet, to me, this is a big pickup. I like it. They wanted to start over on the support line, but they picked up already a duo with a little bit of synergy and a really good duo at that. Very young, but still, it to me, I like it. It should work out really well. They were on American Tornado together. I always want to call them something else. I mean, their time on AT, they did really well, and they also in this process they've gone 99% on the Western American team side. They wanted to have a Western team, and they brought in Venom, who is from South Korea. I think he's going to help them out quite a bit. Pretty much the hit scan that they need. That's not Kai. Kai, Kai's going to be your long range guy doing that kind of thing. Nero, obviously, he's going to be doing your projectile work. I like the fact that they have all their bases covered. The only thing they don't have that I would like to see them get maybe is a extra flex support in case you get a double flex meta going here. And they also have Speedily, who is an insane player who kind of does what Nero does, but we have to wait for him to be eligible to play in the league. I believe he's eligible in August. They're looking pretty good DPS wise. I think their DPS is really, really set. As far as anything you need to cover, they have it there. Venom's going to provide your hit scan. Kai doing some of the long range stuff and some of the other things that he can do. Your Ashe, probably mostly going to play, if it comes into meta, Widowmaker, Hanzo, and then you have Venom covering the other stuff. Nero, obviously, he could be a placeholder right now. I'm not sure. Nero is good, but when you have someone the caliber of Speedily that's going to be coming in, that's also a plus that you have Nero too. Remember, we got new heroes coming in. So you can have one or two of these guys even some guys focus on the old kind of meta stuff. Some guys focus on learning new heroes and getting them down really good, really fast. I like that. I like where they're going with this roster. And obviously we have Gator and Hawk. Your tanks are covered. Whatever your needs are in tank land right now are going to be covered. I like their synergy as a duo, and one of the things that I'm a little worried about is I like Gator in there because he's the leader, the emotional leader, and the kind of the fuel of this team. And not to say that Hawk is not. Hawk is a fantastic player, but I like it when Gator is in there. They seem to have a different vibe. I mean, obviously he was their only tank last year, so he was never not in there. But I like the way he plays. He's aggressive. Like I said, he's the leader of this team. Hawk as well. These two guys are the Atlanta Reign. They're the faces of the Reign. Hawk last year impressed the hell out of me. I know that. I knew he was good, but to me, he moved up in the ranks in the off-tank role quite a bit. He did a lot of good things on Diva, Sigma, and some of the stuff that they were playing. They ran a lot of that kind of double shield rush style. I like this team a lot. As far as talking about where they're going to finish, I would have to go with it. My gut says right now, without seeing 1 minute of them playing, they're in that top 5, top 6. I don't think they're going to be gatekeeping. They're going to be fighting to be in contention in North America. I think they'll be easily top 7 overall. Easily. Including APAC. I just don't see any points where this team, I mean, unless it all falters, they are very young. I get that. But there's enough veteran leadership on this team that will guide them and that will make this ship sail straight, if you know what I mean. There aren't many teams that have all the components that they do. Like I said, the only thing I would like to see would be another flex support, but you can roll with what you roll with. We don't know what's happening as far as the metas and what works and what doesn't work in Overwatch 2. We're going to have to wait and see. From just on paper, I like this team. I give this team, like I said, top 5 NA in that range. Between, how's this? We'll call it between 4 and 6 solidly. Could go higher. Don't think it could go lower, but if something goes wrong, it could possibly go lower. I think this team is flexible enough, which is so important this year. I just think that they have all of the talent and the skill to be able to cover what is needed right now. Unless we get into a double flex support meta. Then you have a little bit of issue. You have double hit scan. You can run Kai on Ashe if something like that happens. Venom can play the other. It'll work out. You get a double projectile. You might get a little weird before Speedily comes in. But I wouldn't worry about that right now. Because it seems like from just watching the one thing that they did do at the finals there, the couple of maps that they played, seems like, your fast flankery kind of people are going to be good. I mean, yeah, they were trying a bunch of different stuff and trying to have some fun with it, but I'm assuming your tracers, your sombras, your DPS like that, you might see some other stuff in there. I don't know, but maybe a Genji here and there, backline wreckers, almost a pseudo dive thing. It kind of felt from the early days, 2017, 2018 kind of. That is my thoughts on Atlanta. Now let's talk about Boston, who is definitely a lot more of a question mark than the Atlanta Reign. So Boston last year, they did better than they have done since season 1. Still not great, but they finished right above the Mayhem, made the playoffs, the final playoffs. They got rid of a bunch of guys, pretty much just rewrote the whole team, minus a couple, Punk, Faith, and Valentine. They got rid of Gelbussi, Stan 1, IM37, Myeongbong, Color Hex, Fusions, and... Okay, so let's go down their current roster. We talked about how they finished a little bit. They were marginal, not bad, not great. They gave some teams some fits. I think they might have beat one or two decent teams in that mix. Let's talk about the roster. All right, here is their complete roster. Let's start with the tanks. We have Marvel and Faith, and they just signed Eatsall. So they have 3 tanks to cover whatever they may need. They have one of the bigger rosters right now. They have 9 players. They have like kind of 3 players at every position. I think they're just trying to work things out, see who works out, see what works out, and see where they go from there. Support-wise, they have Faith, Crimzo, MCD. So they got their bases covered there. They got 1 main support in Faith, and then we have Crimzo and MCD doing the flex support duties. DPS, we have Victoria, Valentine, and Striker. Striker makes a comeback into the league. We obviously know everything about Striker. Fantastic tracer, all that kind of stuff. And then you have Valentine on the projectile and Victoria covering some of the hard hit scan that Striker can't cover. I think this looks pretty good. I'm not too worried about their DPS. It depends on Striker and what he can do. If we get into a tracer meta, it's going to be fun to watch because Striker is, I say this all the time, I've said it before he retired, probably the best tracer to grace the game, if not number 1, number 2 at the lowest. So he will carry them if we have a tracer meta. If we don't, that's where we could get into some question marks. But I think as far as like your long range stuff, medium range with your Cassidy, your Ashe, and your Widowmaker stuff, you can rely enough on Victoria. Obviously young, coming into the league and all that stuff. I don't know too much about Itzal. He just signed going on to the tanks. He's another main tank to go in there with Marv 1, the Marvel, who I always liked. I thought he was good on Soul. I thought he did a decent job. I'm glad he's getting another chance here with Boston. I think he's going to be very good for them. He does the main tank stuff, and he can play Sigma guys. So that's also a big help to them, to have a guy like that play Sigma. And then that leaves Punk to take care of your Roadhog, your Diva, and whatever else comes down the road as far as new heroes. Maybe obviously Marv can learn that, but if we have new main tanks, I think your mainstay here is probably going to be Marvel and Punk doing the tank duties with some smatterings of Itzal in there in case we have something where you want Itzal to play Winston instead of Marvel. I liked Marvel's Reinhardt. It was pretty decent. He's just a decent tank. this is where we're going here, guys. Now, decent, not bad. Everything is kind of a little bit better than average, or it's average, or it's an unknown quantity. Support-wise, I think we're good here too. Crimzo and MCD have proved in the past that they can do well. MCD had some issues, though, with the spark as far as attitude and other things. He is mechanically gifted. He does a lot of good things on Ana and Zenyatta. And he played some Moira and stuff like that, too, in case we get into something like that. You never know. You might see him playing a little bit of Moira. Crimzo, he did fantastic, I thought, with Houston last year. I thought he was better than advertised. Kind of like he was with Dallas the year before that, even. He did some good things. It's just, it feels like he gets like knocked out of a team every time they go to redo the roster or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But you know what he's good at? He's got the Zenyatta that's good. His Ana was fantastic last year. His Baptiste was good too. So I thought he did a lot of good stuff with Houston, and I'm looking forward to seeing him with Boston and seeing what he does here. We also have Faith covering your main support duties. I like where they grabbed two flex supports. That's going to be key, I think, to see where this goes, because there's always, for some reason with this, we're talking a lot of double flex support, whether it's Zen, Ana, or whatever you can throw out there. Obviously, Faith is going to be your Brig guy, possibly MCD. But I would look at it right now as Faith is going to be your guy to play Brig. If Brig is meta or whatever, they got the bases covered. Now let's go over really quick before we end our talking about Boston, what we actually think about their chances. I kind of think they're in the middle to, I think they could be in that, in NA, worst case scenario, they're out of that top 8 for the midseason and those kind of the internationals that we're going to have. Best case scenario, I think they finish somewhere in the 7 range, which is not terrible, guys. It's not bad. I think this team has promise. I think their coaches are decent, and this team could punch up. They have the players that can do it. It's just a question of, are we going to see it? There's just not questions about coverage and hero pools and that. It's skill level compared to the other guys in this game, in this new iteration, if they're able to take over some of these teams. Because everybody's upgraded to an extent, in my opinion. The Reign's upgraded. Dallas, Gladiators. San Francisco, kind of wonky. Still good, though. They got Proper on their team. I'm not going to take them out of any equation, and Violet and a couple other players. Anyway, Shock later date, obviously, we talked about that earlier. Do you see where I'm going here, though? There's a lot of teams that have upgraded, punched up, whatever you want to call it. I just think that they didn't punch up enough. But I think this roster is good. Points in contention I kind of have, maybe possibly, would be seeing what MCD can do. If he becomes if he's learned his lesson, all that kind of stuff. Does Stryker still have it? Doing the unfinished business with Boston. He wants to take them back to the promised land, whatever you want to call it. But I do think this team looks decent enough. It's just, there's a lot more questions with this team than there are with other teams. Some of the other teams, it's more of filling roster spots with me than it is the actual players that are on the team, even though they're short people. Shock being one of them. Only one tank. What are you going to do? I don't think Coluge can cover all of it. But as far as the questions on this team, it's going to be more based on, can these guys punch up? Does Stryker still have it? As far as have it, I don't mean the mechanical skill. I mean the desire, the will, the leadership, all the stuff that Stryker brings. The ability to hard carry, because they're going to need that. Is Crimzo going to be able to maintain what he did last year? Punk, can he do some of the stuff that he did last year? I want to see some of that. Are guys like Valentine going to be able to punch up? So that's my thoughts on them. I think that they're somewhere solidly implanted in the middle. That's not a bad thing, guys. If you're in the tournament, that's all that matters. You could go on a run. A meta could fall in their lap where they have Stryker on Tracer. You got Marv on something he's really good on, and Crimzo can play BAP or Ana. You know, it could fall into a perfect meta where this team could do something like win maybe one of these, the regionalized tournaments. I don't think they could beat a team like Shanghai or some of the other teams in one of the international ones, but there's possibilities here with this team. And I kind of like that. It's kind of better than you normally go into a season with Boston. So look at it that way, guys, if you're Boston fans, I think you got a lot to look forward to. I think the season's going to be exciting and it's going to be fun. But now that we've covered the Boston Uprising and the Atlanta Reign, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Next up on the next episode, we're going to hit 3 teams. We are going to talk about the next 3 teams down the line, right? Chengdu Hunters, the Dallas Fuel, and the Florida Mayhem. We'll be talking about them on the next episode. Look for that sometime later on in the week. We'll get that one up. And we're just going to keep rolling, guys. It's time. I'm feeling it. It's been a long off season. Horribly long. But here we are. And then we got the beta dropping and all that stuff in a couple of weeks. So, you know, Overwatch is looking great right now. And Overwatch League and all that stuff. I'm excited. Springtime. All that kind of stuff. Let's wrap this one up. I'd like to thank all of you guys for joining me. All of your support's been greatly appreciated. And if you're new, thank you very much for stopping by. Thanks for checking out the whole video. It'd be greatly appreciated if you hit a like, hit a subscribe, and do all the YouTube jazz. Helps throw me up in the algorithms. And we can talk more with more people and just get this discussion rolling about Overwatch League, Overwatch 2, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be a fun year, guys. Thanks a lot. This is Misfit. I'm out. Everybody stay safe, have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you on the next one.